What's up, music lovers? Thanks for clicking on my channel. And today I'm excited because for once, actually for the second time, I'm not the only one sitting around here talking about music. I have Brian W. Guitars from the YouTube channel Brian W. Guitar, and he and I are going to be going through Ride the Lightning by Metallica and Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good by Megadeth. And we're going to go track by track and compare them and find out which album we like better. So say hey, Brian.
Hey guys, how you going?
Yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. Just kind of shooting the shit, um, talking and yeah, I mean, we're both pretty big fans of Metallica and Megadeth, and I think
Yeah.
we were saying this before that if it was Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good versus Kill 'Em All, it would be a sweep for Megadeth, and if it was well, actually, I don't know. We didn't. It would be interesting to do Ride the Lightning versus Peace Cells, but we already
Yeah.
did the Peace Cells versus Master of Puppets on your channel because, like we said, if it was So Far So Good So What versus um, Master of Puppets, that would be a sweep for Metallica. So
Oh, for
yeah.
sure.
So, but go check out Brian W Guitar, his channel. I'll have a link in the description. You can see that video and. Yeah, so first song from Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good is Last Rites Love to Death, and that's going up against Fight Fire with Fire. So I'll pass it over to you. Which song do you think gets the edge?
I mean, as controversial it is as a Metallica fan, I think it's Last Rites. Fight Fire with Fire is a good song. I think it's one of those like really just hard-nosed thrash songs that they write that I don't like as much as their other stuff. But I think Megadeth's song is really good.
You know, that's actually interesting because it's close, but I actually think I was gonna go by a hair, Fight Fire with Fire. I do like the classical. They both have kind of like a more classical introduction. I love the acoustic guitars
Oh,
on
true,
Fight
true.
Fire. Um, the thing is, I guess the thing that gives me the edge is they both have amazing riffs. They're both really fast, but there's a bit more seriousness in the horror elements with Fight Fire with Fire, with the lyrics, where it's talking about, nuclear Armageddon, where with Last Rites
Yeah,
Love to Death, the lyrics are sort of just Dave Mustaine being spurred, and then he's in
that's
you
true.
know. So I feel like Fight Fire with Fire is something that I mean they're both like from a songwriting and a music performance standpoint, they're both to be taken super seriously, but Fight Fire just has an
Yeah.
extra level of aggression and sinisterness
Yeah, that's
for
true.
me, at least. It's close though. It's
I
it's
mean,
hard to pick.
I think that swayed me a little bit, and I just remembered that one of their best harmonies is in the song. And I'm a sucker for Metallica harmonies, so I think I might give that edge to Fight Fire with Fire now too. Because you're right, it is a bit more serious. And man, Dave Mustaine just wrote some of the cheesiest shit before he got a little more serious. It was so goofy.
Yeah, it's like on Peace Sells, but Who's Buying, his lyrics got better because if he's going to like a more horror aspect, he makes sure that he's going all out with it, like Good Morning Black Friday and stuff.
Yeah.
I noticed this too on So Far So Good So What. There's songs like Liar and there's a couple other songs. And Killing Last Rites Love to Death, as much as I love it, like I do love the song, it does just kind of feel like a dude who got told off by someone and their ego can't accept it, so they're like, "Oh, how dare you?" You know, like
I mean, that definitely sounds like Dave Mustaine.
yeah, it's funny. It, well, I don't want to trash. Well, Yngwie Malmsteen, the first Yngwie Malmsteen album after, um, um, why can't I think of his name? He sang in Sons of Apollo. I met him. He was a cool guy. Jeff
Hmm.
Scott Soto. The first
Okay.
Yngwie Malmsteen album that was made after Jeff Scott Soto left has a song called Liar on it. It just,
Hmm.
again, comes across as like a dude who was totally in the wrong, getting mad at someone who called them out for their crap, you know? Like, like it's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm the one who's been wounded here. You know, you're just like
Yeah.
so, um, so yeah, I guess we're both in agreement. We give the edge to Fight Fire with Fire.
Yeah, I think so, honestly.
Yeah, it's good. The Last Rites Love to Death is a great intro. If we were comparing this to Hit the Lights, I'd be like, oh yeah, Last Rites, no problem. But
Yeah, honestly too.
Fight Fire with Fire is just one of my favorite Metallica songs. And so
Mm.
coming up next might be my all-time favorite Metallica song, Ride the Lightning versus Killing Is My Business.
I mean, I would take Ride the Lightning, I think too.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite songs as well. I think it's just such a sick song. Really good lyrics, really good sections in there.
the riff.
And I mean they even steal a Dave Mustaine riff, which is ironic but also kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too on those early Metallica albums, every time there's a song that's written by Dave Mustaine, you can tell because it's just like it's like James didn't write this riff. I mean, you can like
And that is like such an iconic Dave move because it's the spider chords.
yeah.
Like no literally I don't can't think of anything else that has spider chords like that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could do it. I know people do it without spider chords, but it's way more satisfying to do it with the spider chord.
Yeah. Yeah, and even the main riff, the dan dan da, 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 I don't know if that is a James Hetfield riff, but it certainly sounds like it could be a Dave riff. There's a lot of I mean, Ride the Lightning kind of has an unfair advantage because you have songwriting contributions from Kirk, Lars, James, Cliff, and Dave. So it's kind of a bit
Yeah.
OP, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I think too many people put way too much stock, especially on my videos. I always get comments that, "Oh, Dave wrote all this. Dave wrote all that." He didn't. I don't think he wrote as much as people think because Metallica seems to always give him the exact amount of credit that he's earned, and no more and no less.
Oh yeah, I agree with that, you know. Um,
Okay.
have you seen there's this interview with Dave Mustaine from years ago, and it's I think it was in the 90s or the early 2000s, but it was a documentary about thrash metal, and he's standing around, he's like, yeah, you know, I wrote so much for Metallica. Megadeth was just a bunch of hired hands, and they were playing what I told them to. And I influenced Slayer because Kerry King played with us for a little bit. It would be so cool to sit around and see all the people I've influenced and look at that from above. And it's just like, dude, like, like he's he's so over the top and like how big of an ego he has, but most of the time he's actually saying stuff that's pretty true, you know? But
Right.
you're also like, wow, man, I can't believe you just said that. Um, yeah, Dave Mustaine's an interesting guy. He can be quite funny, uh, but you know he has that reputation. But I agree with you. I don't think he like wrote every single thing. Call of Cthulhu and Ride the Lightning. You know, it's obvious he wrote those,
Yeah.
and Jump in the Fire,
Oh yeah.
Phantom Lord. You know, mm.
Yeah.
I love Killing Is My Business. So that main riff is so groovy, but also really fast at the same
Yeah.
time.
Right.
Uh, it Ride the Lightning's the better song though. Killing Is My Business really is just like verse chorus verse chorus verse chorus. And if it wasn't so short, it would get repetitive, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but all right, so 2 for 2 for Metallica. But now we're gonna go up against For Whom the Bell Tolls and The Skull Beneath the Skin.
I mean, for me personally, I think as much as um the song is just overplayed for me, I think From the Bell Tolls has got to take it. It's perfect blend between really good songwriting. It's like almost on the cusp of too long because some of it gets repetitive, but it's also really interesting how easy it is and how they were able to make such a good song with how simple it is.
That is true. I agree with that. I think maybe it's just because I'm feeling bad for Megadeth, or maybe like the contrarian me is popping out. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Skull Beneath the Skin because I love For Whom the Bell Tolls, and it is so heavy. And I mean, if you had asked me when I was 15, 16, I would have said For Whom the Bell Tolls without a doubt. But it is also
Mm.
one of those songs that you know it's been with me for so long,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
I completely feel that.
yeah, where it's just like it. I feel like I've reached a point where I can't objectively or fairly talk about it. Because it just sort of, I mean, whenever I hear it, I still really dig it. But the skull beneath the skin, even though it is kind of silly, I love it. I love that they wrote a song about Vic Rattlehead being formed. I love the scream or the wail, I should say, in the beginning from Dave, Gar
Yeah.
Samuelson. I think that that's something that really gave Megadeth an edge on these first two albums is Gar Samuelson and Chris Poland having so much
Yeah.
swagger and jazziness, like fusion playing to their solos and their drums. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'll solidly say the skull beneath the skin, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of people telling me how much of an idiot I am, but I like the skull beneath the skin a bit better than For Whom the Bell Tolls. Yeah.
I think it just depends on like the person, because I don't know how you couldn't get burnt out by "From Whom the Bell Tolls." It's it's really good for a while, and it's a good like gateway song, but
I
it
do
just
love
gets
that it's
old after
based
a
off
while.
of a Ernest Hemingway short story, so um
Yeah, that is cool too.
yeah, Spanish Civil War, but it's yeah, it's a great song, but it is again, like I said, like I totally get why you're going with it. I can't argue against it, but I guess maybe I'm just like a hipster at my heart, and I'm like, no, no, I prefer this one. Yes, I have glasses I'll put on just so I can nudge them. But all right, so our first disagreement, like I said, maybe I was just feeling bad for Killing Is My Business because it is a great album. But
Yeah.
coming up next, Rattlehead versus Fade to Black.
Is it Rattlehead or is it these boots?
On my version, I have These Boots at the end.
Oh, okay, yeah, we can put it at the end then.
They've had a couple different releases of this. I, whichever song These Boots is going up against, it's obvious that These Boots will be the superior song.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
totally.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on the version I have, it's These Boots goes up against the Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, we can keep it like that. That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, they've had a few different versions of this album released, but yeah, Rattlehead versus Fade to Black.
I mean, this is my favorite Metallica song, so nothing's gonna beat it in my opinion.
That yeah,
I just I love everything about it. It's that really nice slow build, really good dynamics, some pretty heavy riffs, a lot of emotion put into the song, and it is my favorite guitar harmony of all time. And the ending solo from Kirk, I think every solo from Kirk is just perfect. So I mean, I could gush about this song forever. So I want to hear your opinion.
I can't disagree with anything you just said. I do think again, especially on Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, and Justice for All, Kirk Hammett making sure that his solos were memorable, and Fade to Black has some of the best. It is, I think, hmm, this is like, again, 50-50, maybe, because
Yeah.
I'll give it an edge to Rattlehead for myself, but that's one
Hmm.
that I'm thinking to myself that I might walk back again, maybe just
Yeah.
because I can't deny that Fade to Black is incredible, but maybe now just looking through Killing Is My Business, I'm getting more in a short, punky, heavy, thrashy mood.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
I can't, you know what? Just to give myself a hill to die on, I'll say Rattlehead because it encouraged me to bang my head as a kid. Um,
Hey, I mean that's a good reason.
yeah, no, I guess I think also part of me is just kind of feeling bad for Killing Is My Business, where I'm like, oh yeah, it's going up
Yeah.
against my favorite Metallica album. For Whom the Bell
Yeah.
Tolls, the thing that makes, I mean, Fade to Black, the thing that makes Ride the Lightning such a good album is the way that it ebbs and flows. It's kind of like
Yes.
the structure they'd follow on Master of Puppets and Justice for All. So I think
Yeah.
Fade to Black for me works best when it's being heard in the context of the rest of the album. And
Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
yeah, because like it's like okay, cool. We just heard Ride the Lightning. Now we're gonna have a more. We just heard Ride the Lightning and For Whom the Bell Tolls. So now we're gonna have a more mellow song before we go into Trapped Under Ice. So
Yeah.
I love Fade to Black for that. But I guess like right now, if you just ask me, hey, would you rather listen to Rattlehead or Fade to Black? I'm in a mood to go listen to a shorter, thrashier song.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so there's my defense of picking Rattlehead over Fade to Black.
And this might be controversial, but I think the drumming on Fade to Black might be better than Rattlehead. Maybe, maybe. But it's definitely one of Lars's best, especially at on this album.
Oh, I think yeah, I think again Lars Ulrich gets a lot of crap that in the same way that Dave Mustaine gets maybe sometimes some credit that he doesn't necessarily deserve. I feel like Lars Ulrich
Yeah,
gets a lot of crap that he doesn't deserve. I can't deny that his drumming has gone downhill over the years, but when you listen
yeah,
to albums like Ride the Lightning or And Justice for All, um, he put in a lot of effort. I agree with you for his drumming for Fade to Black, where I it reminds me a lot of Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, where he's
I can see that.
putting in a lot of thought into his parts. He's not um just blasting away. And even though
Yeah,
it's not maybe the most technical, it fits the song so well and it sounds so good. Um
yeah.
so
Because for this album, Fleming actually worked on him with his drumming because people forget he had played drums maybe for like 5 years at this point. People think he should have been drumming his whole life, but he hadn't been playing that long, and he's still working on stuff. He didn't even know what like a downbeat was, and people just give him so much shit for a man who never once said he's the best drummer on the world in the world. He's always just doing his own thing.
yeah.
And yeah, I know he has an ego, but I don't think I've ever heard him say I'm the best drummer in the world. He just knows what he's good
Oh no,
at.
he's made fun of himself a lot of times for saying
Yeah, yeah,
he I've seen interviews where he's making fun of his snare sound on Saint Anger, which yeah, like that's yeah, no, I like he and going further to just like when people trash talk musicians or actors or actresses or whoever, it's like and I think maybe just the process of writing music and recording and also, having a YouTube channel and like just creating stuff myself. I was never super into this kind of mindset, but especially after having years of
mm,
creating my own art or content or whatever, I look at people
mm,
when they're like trashing someone, someone goes, "Oh, Lars Ulrich is such a crappy drummer." It's like, well, he's doing it. He's
yeah. That's also true.
yeah,
Yeah,
or someone might say, I don't know, like, oh, Kristen Stewart, they might trash them and be like, oh, she's a horrible actress or whoever, just like they're out there doing it, and it's not
yeah.
easy. So even if they're not the
No,
best, they're still more successful than someone who didn't do it. Like
oh for sure.
so I agree with you on that. Like Lars is a guy who gets a lot of hate, and I've seen interviews with him too where, after Cliff Burton died, he had to take on a lot more responsibilities and as Metallica went on just being like a manager dealing with the biggest band on earth, so it's like he had a like a few years where he just could not devote as much time as he wanted to drumming.
Yeah,
But yeah, so a little tangent there, but coming up, I love it's so nice to be able to sit back and talk with someone who actually knows what they're talking about too with stuff like this.
yeah. Right.
Like so many times I'm sure you go talk to someone like a coworker or someone and they're just like, what the hell are you talking about? And you're like, okay, fine, I'll keep it to myself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
much.
you're like, okay, forget me. All right, so coming up next we have Chosen Ones versus Trapped Under Ice. I'll pass it off to you.
Um, I don't know. I want to hear your opinion on it.
Okay, so Trapped Under Ice is one of my favorite songs from Ride the Lightning, so I'm probably going to go with that. But I just want to say that I think it's amazing that Chosen Ones is a song that was inspired by the Killer Bunny from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
For real, I don't. Yeah, like I said, I don't really know. I haven't looked at these lyrics in forever. I gotta look this one up
Yeah,
now.
if the first line is, if you doubt your strength or courage, don't come to join with me, because death surely waits you with sharp and pointy teeth. An animal so vicious no others have fought and won. It's freaking hilarious. Um, so I'll give the edge to Trapped Under Ice because I think that the guitar tone is beefier. It's chunkier. It's a really hard combination to get fast playing, but also really thick sounding guitars, you know?
Yeah.
And Trapped Under Ice does that. It also has some really fun solos from Kirk. Uh, I do
Mm.
like the bass solo on Chosen Ones, but yeah, I'm gonna give it to Trapped Under Ice. It's one of my favorite Metallica songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid song. And that bridge section
Oh yeah.
is such a fun part to play as well.
Yeah. It's it's just, from the second you hear that dun 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 dun, you're like, and then also the little fill that Lars does on the snare, right? To start off before going into that main
Yeah.
riff. Yeah, so Chosen Ones is good, but I just gave the edge to Rattlehead over Fade to Black, so I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm going to Trapped Under Ice.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think I'll go Trapped Under Ice then too.
Yeah, it's a good song. Coming up next though, and this is gonna be an easy one for me because it's one of my favorite Megadeth songs, but we got,
Okay, that's what I thought you were going.
oh yeah, Looking Down the Cross versus Escape.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go to Looking Down the Crosses. Probably, well, I know as well. I don't know too many people that like Escape. People said it in my comments, but I don't really see the appeal.
I I don't hate Escape at all.
I don't.
You do?
I do not. I don't either. I just it definitely feels it's like the weird sore thumb in the album. All these songs are about death except for
Escape.
oh no, just that one. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why it just feels like such a thematic sore thumb. It's like I think it's is it in a major key? It's definitely not in like a minor key. It's
That's
definitely just sounds happier.
I think it's an E minor, but they're droning on the G, the major third more.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So it does, to me it's funny. It kind of reminds me of like Quest for Fire on Peace of Mind, where it's like I kind of like it, but it also does, I wouldn't say it necessarily sticks out like a sore thumb, but it does feel like it doesn't quite fit with the other songs on the album.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't think it's terrible at all. It's like it kind of is a nice change of pace, but for me, I think on the album, I think it fits well. But Looking Down the Cross is a masterpiece, and it's songs like that where I'm like, hey, that's why Killing Is My Business is the best debut out of any thrash metal band from the 80s. I think it's.
I think I would agree with that too. As probably controversial as it might be.
Oh, what, that Killing? Yeah, I mean, because like compared to Show No Mercy, Kill 'Em All,
People love Show No Mercy. I think
people what?
people love Show No Mercy. I think.
Yeah, I have a controversial opinion where I've tried repeatedly to get into Slayer, and there's certain songs that I can appreciate. At Dawn Their
Mm,
Sleep, that's from Haunting the Chapel, I think, but I
yeah, it's from Halloween, I think.
yeah, yeah, well, this is a video about Megadeth and Metallica. If I start saying how I'm not a fan of
It's
Slayer,
okay.
I'm just,
Hey, we could do this one next.
what was that?
We could do that one next.
Yeah, no, I pissed off. Luckily, no one saw my ranking every Tool album video because I pissed off all the Tool fans with that, and then I can piss off all the Slayer fans with another video. I could just, um, but, but yeah, Looking Down the Cross is just it also builds so much. Like when it starts off with like the tapping, which I think Dave is doing like a piano style tapping where he's playing the power chords with his left hand and he's doing the thirds and the sevenths with his right.
All right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think sort of like a Joe Satriani thing, but he builds up so well to the climax that by the time you get to the part of the song where it's talking about putrefaction you have caused running for confession, now you wish you had a god to stop your demolition. It earns the heaviness and the
Yeah.
rage by the end. And yeah, Looking Down the Cross is again one of Megadeth's best songs, and I think it's easily the best song on their first album.
Yeah. I think I would agree with that.
So yeah.
Although I think I'm a sucker for Last Rites, but I would agree with that.
Yeah, Last Rites is another song that could be up there for the best on the first album, but Yeah, so it's the best, arguably the best song on Killing Is My Business, going up against what's universally considered the worst song on Ride the Lightning.
Yeah,
So it's a pretty easy sweep.
yeah, slam dunk.
But okay, and then coming up next we got Creeping Death from Ride the Lightning versus Mechanics from Killing Is My Business.
So I've done a video on the Four Horsemen,
Hmm.
and I think that version of the Mechanics obviously is the best version. I'm not a big fan of Mechanics. If it was, I don't even the speed. I think it's just too fast originally. I think when they slowed it down and added way better lyrics because garage sex is just goofy. I think.
I agree.
I
I
think
know. I,
Creeping
I
Death just
agree.
like
I agree with
completely
you.
destroys
I,
it.
I agree with everything you just said right there.
Yeah. It's just it might have been cooler. He needed like pick a lane, either garage sex or like a really fast song. But both is just. But I didn't know that Chosen Ones was about the bunny from Monty Python, so he was writing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe Dave's sense of humor, but you got to remember too, like at the time he's writing these songs, how old is he? Like 20, 21? Mm,
Oh,
mm,
I didn't even think about that honestly.
yeah,
Let's
maybe
see.
23 at the oldest when this album comes out. So it's like, you know, that's as much as I love heavy metal, that is sort of like an aspect of it that when people romanticize the 70s and 80s, I'm always kind of like rolling my eyes. There's a lot of cheesy stuff, there's a lot of like, oh, I'm so macho, I have garage sex. Check out my pistons bulge. That doesn't
Yeah, right.
age very well. I still like Mechanics, but yeah, Creeping Death has one of the guitar solos that I think influenced my solo playing so much
Oh,
when I
really?
was younger. Yeah, I think as a teenager, a lot of these solos influenced my how I thought about guitar solos. Kirk Hammett was never like
Hmm.
my number one guitar player. I think Glenn Tipton from Judas Priest was, but
Hmm.
Kirk Hammett was always someone who I thought did a good job of like giving each of his solos upward momentum and then like a climax. The part
Yeah.
right after the fast section where it's dun, da, 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 da. It's so
Yeah.
simple, but it's also really good. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Creeping Death, yeah, I mean, it's another song that I've heard so many times because I loved it so much that it's hard for me to kind of get in the headspace I was in when I first heard it, but Creeping Death versus the Mechanics is a pretty easy choice for me.
Yeah. I think so too.
Uh, and coming up last, speaking of easy choices, The Call of Cthulhu versus These Boots.
I don't even think you could. I'm trying to think of like how you could even make up an argument for these boots. Like, what a strange choice for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and also too, on the version that I've heard, it's censored. So so Dave Mustaine will be singing and then you just hear beep beep beep. Like it almost comes across as like really funny, but you're just yeah. I mean, I don't think the Call of Cthulhu is Metallica's best instrumental. Obviously, in your video, we were talking about how much we loved Orion, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, these boots, the more, comparing Killing Is My Business to Ride the Lightning, you're looking down the track list of Killing Is My Business, and you're like, how much cocaine were they on when Dave was thinking of some
Yeah.
of these songs? Because these boots, Mechanics, even to a degree, even though I love it, Chosen Ones is based off of the Killer Bunny, Last Rites Love to Death. Like it's awesome, but it is also like, sometimes it works well and sometimes not so much,
Mm.
like with these boots where it's just kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out. Like, I was looking up the song to see why they even picked this. Like, what a strange pick for them to even include.
Yeah, it's like, and I'm pretty sure it was like Dave Mustaine picked it. Um,
Yeah, and the original writer wanted it omitted due to it being a perversion of the original.
yeah, that's and Dave Mustaine in the version of the album that I have, he talks about it where he was because that was a Nancy Sinatra song, and Dave Mustaine is
Mm.
basically saying like Frank Sinatra was connected to the mafia. Nancy Sinatra is Frank's daughter. So why are you guys more offended by some idiot redhead guitar player than the mob? Something like that. Let me see if I can find the exact quote. All right, so here he is explaining it in the liner notes. Oh wait, no, is this Ellefson? No, this is Dave Ellefson, not Dave Mustaine. But
Hmm.
initially, the remake of These Boots Were Made for Walking was a joke. I thought it was all right to have some fun with it because the original version sucked. So that's kind of the logic behind it. Um,
Mm.
Lee Hazelwood, the song's original writer, didn't quite see the humor in this, but he or his handlers are bereft of more sense of humor. Um, yeah, so you know, it, maybe putting a song on your album just because you think that the original sucks isn't exactly, you can tell that there's a bit more seriousness and a bit more maturity on Ride the Lightning than on Killing Is My
Yeah.
Business. Um, Honestly, I think Dave Mustaine was kind of coming at from more of a punk rock mindset, where by this time Metallica had kind of stayed with the full heavy metal mindset. We're going to take this seriously. Well,
Yeah.
obviously those mindsets go back and forth, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So there's the
I mean, this
answer. They
is
basically just thought the original version sucked, and they were having a laugh, I guess.
yeah. I mean that. Yeah. What a strange inclusion. I think, like you were saying, that like this is the punk phase. Didn't they do the They did a Six Pistols cover in this era, right?
They on their third album, they did a
Their
cover of Anarchy in
third
the
one. Okay.
UK. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Now I remember that. Yes. Yes. Yeah. He includes covers on the first three, and then they got rid of it for Rust in Peace, which I think was a smart idea.
I think so too. Because yeah, like we were talking about with P cells, I ain't superstitious. It does kind of stick out a little bit where you're like, huh, this is weird. Um, and Rust in Peace probably is their best album. So just to,
Yeah.
I'm never really a big fan of when bands do covers. Not that I don't think that they can do good versions of it. Hell, I'm working on a cover myself, but I just think there's something more, I guess. You can take a piece of an album more seriously when the band is like, no, these are just our songs, you know?
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
why like Metallica just did a whole separate thing or included on singles. I think that were and they picked stuff that was in their wheelhouse. They weren't going for like a Michael Jackson song or something.
God. Can you imagine like Metallica in the early 90s doing a cover of like Speed Demon by Michael Jackson? Like, oh, that'd be
I was
so
thinking
terrible. Heading for the
I
border. It's on my mind. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a cover an AI cover of Beat It by Metallica.
oh,
I feel like I've seen that before.
but so there you have it, everyone. It's pretty unanimous, I think, that we prefer Ride the Lightning to Killing Is My Business. Sorry, Dave, if
Yeah,
it was
100%.
Ride the Lightning versus Peace Cells or Rust in Peace, you probably would have come out better. But I want to thank Brian W. Guitar for joining me.
Yeah, man, it was fun.
Yeah, like we were saying before, it's just fun to sit around and talk. So if you like hard rock, heavy metal, progressive rock, definitely make sure you check out his channel and definitely make sure to subscribe to this channel. There's probably a video popping up right now. If you like this, you can go check that out. And like always, thank you so much for watching and hope to see you at the next video. Peace.